Okay. Ready? Where did I leave off? Oh, this is the factor pair that will add to B6. So that means that these are going to create a binomial. Does anybody know what a binomial is? No? Okay. A binomial is a two-term expression. Okay? So when we're creating factors, we're going to create with an x plus 2. So this is going to be one of my binomials. This is going to go in parentheses. This creates a factor binomial. So then what will the other be? X plus 4. Okay? Can you put, oh, Miss Santoyo left right. Nothing. Questions? So this is your factor. This is your factor. Questions? Are we sure? Okay. Can I go to the next one? All right. So what do we need factors of? What number? We only need factors of one of those numbers. Nope, not 10. 16. Remember, we always need factors of the C, of the constant. Okay? Some of you know what this is already, but let's write down the factors. We need factors of 16. So 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4. What number are, sorry, am I going too fast? What number am I trying to get to? Negative 10. Negative 10. That matters. Negative 10. That means I need to possibly play around with these numbers to try to get negative 10. Okay? However, if we look at this right here, what is the only way we can get positive when we have two negatives? I think I just gave you the answer. We need two negatives. What's a negative times a negative? Positive. That means both of these factors will be negative. Negative, negative. Negative, 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 negative. So which factors, this will give me negative 17, this will give me negative 10, and this will give me negative 8. So which factor pair will give me negative 10? Negative 2 and negative 8. So give me the binomials that I need to write in my parentheses. X minus 8, X minus 2. Does the order matter? No. So you could have put X minus 2 here, X minus 8 here. Does not matter. Questions? Are we sure? I know factoring is not a skill that we all have, and that is okay. That is why we're going over it. Are we good? Can I move to the next one? Are we sure? Okay. All right, let's look at the next one. What do we need factors of? What kind of 10? Negative 10. So we have 1 and 10, 2 and 5. What do we need to add to? Negative 9. So which factor pair do we think will get us to negative 9? 1 and 10. But one of these needs to be what? Which one's going to be negative? Very good. So this will be negative 9. If I did this, this will be negative 3. Are there any questions? Are we sure? So then what are my factor pairs? What's my factor binomial? X minus 1? X plus 1. X minus 10. Sorry, I wrote that all. X minus 1. X plus. Nope. X plus 1. X minus 10. Questions? Are you sure? All right. Last but not least, we need factors of what? Negative 24. That add to be what? Positive 5 or negative 5? Positive 5. So we have 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Which factor pair will look like it will give me positive 5? 3 and 8. Good. What's negative? What's positive? Look at Andina putting it in her calculator to figure it out. Negative 3? And 8 is what? Positive. So that will give me a positive 5. So what are my factor pairs? What are my binomials? X minus 3, X plus 8. Questions? You sure? All right, take out your notebooks when you're done, or you can write this on the back. We're going to be writing some steps and going over some problems that involve factoring, but with limits. Okay. All right, so let's start. We're going to be writing some steps and some notes. So today is the 17th, 24. Limits. With factoring, level 3 and level 4. We're going to be focusing on level 3 today, but you can use these methods with level 4 also. Okay. For level 2, we just finished level 2. We did a quiz yesterday on level 2. For level 2, I'm going to show you the difference between level 2 and level 3. Level 2, we had x approaches 2 of x squared, or x minus 2, x plus 3 over x minus 2. We already had all the binomials factored out, right? Level 2, all you had to do was do what to x plus, x minus 2. What did we have to do? Cancel it out. And then plug in the x. I heard somebody say cancel over there and plug in. Okay? All you had to do was cancel it out, plug in the x. This was already factored. For level 3, we are not given the factors. We're not given the factors. We need to find the factors of the quadratic. A quadratic is a polynomial with a degree of 2. Okay? So we're not gonna do any higher order, like anything else that's more difficult than 2. But you should know how to factor this, and this is why we went over factoring, and this is why we're spiraling in factoring. So this you will need to factor. So that is the difference between level 2 and level 3. Factored, unfactored. Your goal for level 3 is to get to level 2. Meaning that you're going to break down the level 3 problem to look like a level 2 problem. I'll say it again. Your goal for level 3 is to break down the level 3 problem to look like a level 2 problem. Questions on that? All right, let's write some steps and guidelines. So these are steps for level 3 and level 4, okay? Now again, I cannot give you every single step for every single problem, as the problems may differ, but you have to be able to differentiate between the factored, unfactored, what's the greatest common factor, is there a factor, okay? That's why we worked on factoring last week in IXL. Was that last week? Yeah, right? Okay, can I go down? All right, your first step that you're going to do is you're going to find the greatest common factor of the polynomial. Or polynomials. This can be a number or variables, or both. It could be both and. It could be both numbers or variables, or just one or the other. This is why we factored last week. This was like the third skill that we did, factoring out that greatest common factor with a number and a variable. Am I going too fast? Okay. Your next step is to factor any quadratics. But Miss Santana, what is a quadratic? A quadratic is a polynomial with a degree 2. But Miss Santana, I still don't understand. Can you give me an example? Sure. So here is an example. X squared minus x minus 6. This is a quadratic because the highest degree, the highest exponent is 2. Can I move right here? What about here? So at this point right here, your new problem should look like a level 2 problem. At step 2, after you're done with it, your problem should look like a level 2 problem. And we just do what we did before. Your next step is to cancel any common factors. Any of them. If there's one common factor, you cancel it out to note. If there's 3 common factors, you cancel all 3 of them out. Okay? Remember, the common factors could be numbers or binomials. Binomials are the 2 terms in the parentheses. So So from here on out is just everything that we've done in level 2. You're going to rewrite the limit, meaning you're rewriting it without any of the common factors, with the stuff that you took out, without the stuff that you canceled. And your last step is to evaluate the limit. What does evaluate the limit mean? Found your notebook? Anybody remember what evaluate the limit means? That's okay. Let's see if this jogs your memory. Substitute. This jog your memory now? No, that's okay. We're going to substitute in the x value. So remember, your function is going to be the limit as x approaches blah, 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 blah. And you take that blah, 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 like Dracula, and substitute it into the problem. When you're done writing this down, take out the sheet that I passed out. Are there any clarifying questions so far on anything? Are you good, Donna? Brianna, Diana, and Kimberly and Ricardo, can you see the board? I know that sometimes there's a glare there. You see it? Okay. Okay. Are we ready? No? Okay. It's frozen. Are we good? Good, good, good. All right, let's look at the first one. We need to look in the numerator and denominator and follow the steps. You can't just do it in the numerator, can't just do it in the denominator. You look great. You don't need to use my calculator as a mirror. You look great. You don't need to use my calculator as a mirror. First step, it says find any greatest common factor. What is a greatest common factor between these two terms? Yeah, they both have an x in common. Okay? So this goes back to the IXL that we were doing. So I need to factor out that x. Now I need to create the other binomial. How many x's do I have here? 2. How many do I have here? So how many need to go in the parentheses? 1. I'll say it again. How many x's do I have here? 2. More than one person should be answering. How many x's do I have on the outside? How many more do we need? 1. Make sense? Are we sure? Okay, next thing. Minus. How many x's do I have there? 1. How many do I have here? So do I need any more x's here? What would this become then? Ooh, not x. 1. It becomes 1. But Miss Santana, how? let's check our work, okay? You don't have to write this down if you don't want to. So if we check our work, we're going to, what is the mathematical term from what I'm about to do? Starts with a D. No. Distribute. So if I distribute this, this will give me x squared. I distribute that, that gives me negative x. So C, when we factor, we do reverse distribution. Are there any questions so far? Do we get the numerator? Are we sure? Okay. Can I do anything in the denominator? No. All right, so step 1 is done. I factored out the greatest common factor. Step 2 says factor any quadratic. Do I have any term that has a square in it in my factor? No. So I need to skip that step. I cannot factor the quadratic. The do now were all quadratics. These don't look like quadratics. Step 3. What does step 3 say? Cancel out. So what am I canceling out? Cancel out the x. Thank you. What does step 4 say? Rewrite the limit. So we have the limit as x approaches 0 of x minus 1. Are there any questions on that part? What is step 5? Evaluate the limit. How do I evaluate? Substitute what? The x. So what's my x in this case? 0. So I'm going to substitute in 0. I get 0 minus 1, which is negative 1. That is my limit. Oops. Off screen. Questions? Questions? Are we sure? All right, then flip over, flip over, flip over. You, number 1, I want you to do number 1 in your groups. I'll give you 5 minutes. 5 minutes. What color do we want? Mr. Esquivel? You cannot factor that 3 out. You can't factor it out because neither of the terms, or both terms, do not have the 3, so it stays in the parentheses. I saw your face.
Échale ganas, Oscar. Otherwise, I'm a lot. You're closing your eyes. No, but
So I understand how to do it, I don't understand how to turn this into this. Dice the dati ma tutto cosa la di The AP paper 30 minutes ready.
What number is
What do they have in common? What does the numerator have in common? They have X. Do they have anything else in common? So then what should go outside the parentheses? That's all. Okay, good. Kind of. You're missing something. No. No. This 3 should be on the inside. You can't factor out the 3 because this does not have a 3. So it stays on the inside, just like this. Yeah. Done. Get this filled out. We have to try. Yeah. Yep. Great. Yep. Watch your language. You have 1 X here. How many X's do you need? Okay, but you only have 1. So then what would you write in the parentheses? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So when you multiply, 3 times 3x, that gives you 3x. Yep, you're ready for next thing. Okay? Why is there? There's no 3. Nope. Yes, it is. All right, let's go over it. We ready? No? Okay, I'll give you 1 second. Okay. All right, so I see the same mistake. Don't write this mistake down. Don't write this mistake down. But I keep seeing the same mistake. You guys are factoring out the 3x. And then putting like x minus 1. Okay? Let's distribute this. When we distribute, we'll get 3x squared. But then we'll get a negative 3x. Is that what's inside our, or is that our regular or original problem? No. So you can only factor out the 3 if both terms, both things, have a 3 in it. Do both of these things have a 3 in it? No. So what is the only thing you can factor out? X. Questions? So then what goes left? What goes in the parentheses? What goes into my binomial? 3x minus 1. Okay? Questions? We sure? Can I factor anything in the denominator? No. So I just do that. Now what do? Cancel. Then rewrite. So then we have the limit as x approaches 0 of 3x minus 1. And now what? Substitute in 0. So we have 3 times 0 minus 1, and that gives me negative 1. Oops, off screen. My bad. Questions? We sure? We have 20, nope, 15 minutes, okay. All right, here now is where it gets tricky, even though some of you got stuck on this, but I hope we cleared up things. So we need to follow those guidelines. Am I going too fast? Okay. Look at the numerator. We're going to take it step by step. Does the numerator have any greatest common factors? No. 6 doesn't have an x. X doesn't have a coefficient, so we can't do anything here. But let's look at our denominator. Oh, wait. I'm on the wrong... I might as well just do this side. This one should be 42. Can we change this, please? 42. Change that to 42. Okay. So we're going to factor this one. Does this denominator have any common factors? What? No. I was waiting for somebody to say that. Remember, each term has to have it. Which term is missing an x? 42. So you can't take out the x because 42 doesn't have it. What about any numbers? Do any of these have any numbers in common? No. This coefficient is 1, so we can't factor out any numbers. Good? Okay, so now let's factor out this. I'm going to factor it out on the side. I need factors of what? 42. That add to be what? 13. So the factors of 42 I have is 1 and 42, 2 and 21, 3 and 1, 14. 4 will not divide evenly. 5 has to end in a 0 or 5. That does not have a 0 or 5. And then we have 6 and 7. Any questions on where I got those factors? Okay. So what do we need to add to? 13. Which factor pair will give me 13? 6 and 7. What kind of 6 and 7? Both positive. Good. Questions so far? Okay, so now let me create my binomial. Any questions? So this is step 2 where we're factoring the quadratic. We have factored the quadratic. What is my next step? What does step 3 say? Cancel. So what are the things that we're canceling? X plus 6. Now what? Rewrite. So we have the limit as x approaches -6. What goes in the numerator? 1. And why does 1 go in the numerator? Because what? Because there's nothing else there. Because there's nothing else there. And then what goes in the denominator? X plus 7. Now what? Evaluate. How do I evaluate? Substitute. So it's going to be 1 over -6 plus 7. And that gives me +1, I believe. Can somebody put that in their calculator and make sure? Yeah, thank you. Questions? Are we sure? We're sure. Okay, since I did the back, I want you to flip over and do number 2. There should be an X here, sorry. You done? Oh, I'm sorry.
You can use the X that is on it that works for you. I don't care. Okay.
Yeah, seniors, you can use whatever method you need to factor.
This maybe is seven. You need to do the last part, this is about whatever method you need to do, okay? Okay?
Yeah.
To find the factors? Yeah. Well, you always use the one without the variables. Because I could technically rewrite this so it's in the middle of it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. On the next and. They're all divisible by 3. You have to factor out the 3. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I don't understand. Yeah. Yeah. No, this is gonna help you find what factors, okay? Because, can I use your question? So, this is, let's say I boiled it out, okay? When I do first, and then, yeah, out of it, black, okay? That will give me x squared plus 7x plus 6x plus 4. These are like terms that gives me 13x. Okay? Got it? This is why I have to pay attention. Yeah, you should. No, because 3 can be divisible by all numbers. Okay. Well, you did half of it wrong. Okay. Usually that's x, right? So this should be x squared, this should be x, and that should go away. They also have 3 in common.
All right, seniors. Let's quickly do this. You ready? The factors of 42 that add to be 13 are what? 6 and 7. So that's going to be x plus 7 over x plus 7, x plus 6. What do I do then? What do I do? Thank you. Cancel the common factors. What will go in the numerator then? Am I done? No, what do I do? Evaluate. So it'll be 1 over negative 7 plus 6, and that gives me negative 1, I believe. Right? All right, we'll finish this tomorrow. We need all